more that you can lean into your own personal discomfort, say what needs to be said in a non-offensive way, the more you make the world a better place.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to our Tuesday Live here at Jumpstart Mastery. When parents play favorites, understanding sibling rivalry. Brenda, what are you doing to me? I'm actually excited to talk about this topic and see where we take it together, because I've had a number of experiences of being exposed to this and the downstream effects um, uh, at many stages of my life. I also am a parent and worked very hard to support the individualized expression and full development of personality and attributes in my children, having to manage the ways in which my girls would tilt toward this, and I would try to balance between allowing experience to be a teacher and intervening to prevent unnecessary harm, or to prevent the getting stuck that I think people can experience downstream of being preoccupied with comparison and rivalry. Welcome to our Tuesday Live. These lives come from a perspective of experience in addressing human suffering in the extremes when it's crisis. I do not purport to be a psychologist or a counselor. Have I received education in psychology? Yes. I have an undergraduate degree in psychology. I have a number of professional hours of continuing education in psychology. I worked in a very large psychiatric care and services system for a long time and have benefited from many, many hours of formalized trainings from psychologists. My bailiwick experience is in observing and responding to human crisis and resolving that with as much dignity and support of another human being as possible. And I'd be lying if I said that I didn't think what I was observing on many occasions wasn't a product of, to some degree, this phenomena that we're going to talk about today. People growing up in a family system and developing, in short, what would be described as insecure attachment to other human beings, because this stuff went on too much in the family. So welcome to our live. Maybe you are a parent. Maybe you grew up in a family system living with constant comparison. Maybe you heard feedback from a parent: be more like Ann, be more like Jimmy. Look what Jimmy did there. Look what Oscar did here. Or maybe the antithesis of that. Don't be like Jimmy. Don't be like Oscar, etc. It's been my experience that people who internalize emotional imprinting experiences of non-acceptance, feeling less than, feeling inadequate, carry that with a lot of weight and develop survival mechanisms around that to navigate the world. And in the navigation of the world, if the stimulation of the world, some other person's behavior, instigates the revisitation of all of that old discomfort that came from comparison, you could have a serious problem on your hands, because someone is defending their reality, their worldview, the lens through which they see the world, the lens through which they have found a way to survive in the world. And if somebody threatens that, if the perception is that that's threatened, you can watch someone go right to willingness to violence to protect it. That's been my experience. Now, where does something like that start? Where do the occasions start? They start with, in the context of family systems, in my opinion, experiences that kids have where caregivers or parents are engaging in observation, analysis, and description of behaviors, where this can be very constructive. And what has been my experience raising my own two girls was to under prioritize the person doing the desirable thing and prioritize the thing, the attribute, the value. If one of my daughters was engaging in some kind of very constructive, desirable behavior, and the other was not, my orientation in anything that came out of my mouth was to describe the thing that was being done, not who was doing it. Now, sometimes you can't escape the need to highlight someone doing it. In my experience as a dad, I would go so far as to say that quality is a desirable quality, whether so-and-so is doing it or not. It could be your friend. It could be Sally. It could be Jill. It doesn't matter. That thing that's being done is super important, and here's why. I think when we are, I'll just say the word, lazy in our languaging and try to use ideas to be implied by, well, when so and so does this, look at how good that is. I learned something as an adult. I had, to some degree, as a very young boy, this happened with me a lot. My grandmother, bless her soul, she's deceased many, many, many years now, was very fond. Maybe my cousin Gabrielle is watching this. I hope she is watching this. We would laugh about this. I just saw her when I visited her in Brooklyn when we were working for the Administration for Children's Services in the city. Gabrielle and I would joke because when grandma was with me, all I heard about was how wonderful my cousin Gabrielle and Francesca were. That's all I would hear. I wouldn't hear much of any positive appraisal of anything I was doing. I'd hear about them. And I never knew until years later, like what this did when I heard about how wonderful Gabrielle and Francesca were doing in life. This did not engender relationship with me and them a lot, this force that I was dealing with. What I learned later was that they would tell me when grandma was with them, all they heard about was their cousin Andrew and what Andrew was doing here and what Andrew was doing there. And all of us, the night we discovered this, we were like, you've got to be kidding me. That's what she actually said. Yeah, that's what she said. We were blown away by this. And I would say in an almost bittersweet way, I know for me, I lamented, well, that just kind of unnecessarily effed up what we could have experienced together when we were younger. Because all that really did was cause me to feel inferior to my cousins. Now, whatever my grandmother's motivation was, I don't think it was malevolent. I don't think it was evil. I think she was trying to do something. I think she was trying to help me celebrate. Look at the things that they're doing and let's celebrate and extol the virtue of that together. But that's not how it landed. It landed very, very differently. So, and I would say on that basis, a large part of things having ill effect downstream is when we are careless in our communication. Having gone through that when I had my own daughters and had to navigate the challenges that are natural to life, where kids are trying to individuate and establish who they are in the world. They have experiences that are benchmarks to getting to some vision of who they want to be. And along the way, there may be some conflict with a sister. Sadly, I didn't have a brother, so I have no prototype experience to share about a brother. I have a lot of experience with sisters and witnessing sister conduct. When that would occur, I would try not to marginalize the success of the person engaging in the desirable behavior, but I would also at the same time try not to overemphasize the person. I would emphasize the value of the thing, the attribute. Was what they were doing a demonstration of integrity? Was what they were doing a demonstration of commitment to excellence? Was what they were doing a demonstration of humility? That's where all of my languaging would be. It would be on that subject. And I don't know, I'm apprehensive to some degree about saying that I feel pretty good about my parenting and how my kids turned out, because my kids turned out pretty phenomenally. They're very, very integrated personalities with, I don't see a lot of hangups in how they engage the world. They engage the world with a lot of capacity and competence and selflessness, and they're focused on the right things. Someone may meet them and not agree. I don't think that's likely to happen, but I'm really proud of them. And I'm proud of the suffering that I went through that helped me help them avoid outcomes downstream. What happens when this goes wrong? When kids develop a sense of, look, I'll just say it, because I've met a lot of entrepreneurs, and I've asked a lot of entrepreneurs family of origin type questions. I worship my dad. There's caricatures of my dad's 1947 guitar. I talk to my dad every day. I love him. I'll tell you what he was not good at with me. And if he were sitting in front of me, I'd be saying it right now, and he'd probably laugh and say, "You're fucking right." He was not good at positively appraising appropriate behavior. He was good at straightening me out and giving me a sense that there's more work I have to do here. There's more work I have to do there. And he wasn't a big, "Great job, I'm proud of you" guy. That was not him. That affected me. Now, the more I speak to other entrepreneurs, what that creates is drive. And I'm a pretty driven dude today. So much so that my sponsor sometimes tells me I got to wind that back a little bit, because I am not good with idle time. I have to always be doing something that's achieving progress in some kind of goal. Morse code, archery, shotgun, fitness, white papers, whatever. It's like a curse, to be honest. So anyway, all of that. When you do that to a kid, if you send a lot of messaging that's not affirming, there are downstream implications that become deeply imprinted and hardwired in their personality, and it takes a lot of years for them to unwind that and figure out why that happened. And I'm happy to say that I don't think that's going to happen to my daughters. I was able to avoid, I think, a lot of the downstream implications by handling those episodes carelessly. Now, what do you do if you live with that? If you're living with a bunch of negative experiences and ill feeling as a result of constant comparison with sister or brother? That's an interesting question. What do you do with that? Well, I think you start to work through the tapes that play in one's mind with someone professional to help you unravel that. I cherish my relationship with my therapist, who I can go to when I listen to tapes and can be filled with my own self-loathing or less than. It like the stuff Dad did, and my mother was just so affirming of everything that the affirmation was not credible. You're so wonderful here, you're so wonderful there. I could walk into the room, I'm wonderful. And she was doing that to offset Dad. Because she would observe Dad. So she would come with this other stuff. And what a terrible kind of outcome that took a lot of years to unravel. And the lesson, thank goodness, by the time, because I was an older dad, I didn't start being a dad in my 20s. My oldest daughter now is a mother in her early 20s. And man, is she crushing it. She's doing it the way it's supposed to be done. And the downstream implications of focusing on the person engaging in the behavior rather than the attribute of the behavior that's desirable is where this can go wrong. Kids in gangs, you want to talk about the school to prison pipeline or the juvenile justice to gang life pipeline? It's this shit that pervades all of it. Why do you think kids go back to gang life? There's acceptance, purpose, alignment, support. Doesn't matter if it's criminal activity. That's where they're getting the attribute. Purcell Branch over in JTDC in Chicago told me the most structured parenting that any of these kids get most of the time are from staff here at the facility. We're getting kids in juvenile justice that have extraordinary trauma around a number of issues. These affirming personality is no small component among them. That's gigantic. Gigantic. So, where do I wrap this up? We're at 18 minutes. We try to keep these to about 20. If you're a parent and you're a parent of a number of kids, consider the idea to offset the downstream ill effects of feedback communication that could result in someone feeling unaffirmed. Focus on the attribute or the behavior, the desirable behavior that the kid is producing, not the kid doing it. And language around the attribute, not necessarily the person. If anybody who's been watching this has ever gone to program 12-step recovery, it's a very common phenomena to see someone producing things, doing things that they want. I want that guy's peace. I want that guy's optimism. I want that guy's faith. I want that guy's spiritual practice. And it's impossible to escape, to some degree, the symbolism of the hero who's got the thing to offer. The most responsible thing that good AAs do, good 12-step recovery people do, good coaches do, good influencer athletes do, is they pull the John the Baptist. I must decrease, that thing must increase. They're going to talk about their spiritual life. They're going to talk about their optimism. They're going to talk about that thing in ways that do not draw attention to them, but just extol the virtue of the idea. In the rooms, that's called principles above personalities. So when it comes to sibling rivalry, how to avoid it, avoid the downstream implications, consider principles above personalities. And I think you'll be in good shape. I hope you got something out of this. This is serious. The downstream implications that show up in crisis with youth that have not been led particularly well and have deeply imprinted through experiences that cause them to feel less than, they can be a real problem in a crisis, a real tactical problem. They will do whatever is necessary to protect their worldview structure that they've had to develop out of survival. If you try to assail that, they'll kill you. So this is why the crisis negotiation approach is so meaningful, because we're not presenting any more risk or threat to that when we engage in crisis de-escalation. We're letting someone know that they're seen, heard, and understood in their wounded state, even in their state that they feel animated to defend who they are. And it may not show up as that initially. It may show up as some kind of idea. You know, I'm defending my right. Okay. But are they really defending their right, or are they trying to survive through this moment? Because if they abdicate that right, they're going to revisit all of that old trauma. This is why trauma response. This is why we got to move from, oh yeah, I'm trauma informed. Oh, so you've been informed by the information. Well, what are you doing with it? Are you not acting like an idiot in front of the person who's in crisis? That's a great place to start. That's trauma responsive. Do nothing that makes it worse. Well, I need to assert myself and who's in control. Get out of here. Just get out. Go to the back of the line and start over. You have to show up to the moment with you over there, ego at the door, literally. I'm here to do something new in the training environment. I'm here to learn a skill that I would not naturally do. I'll pick up my ego in a minute and integrate it, but for now, I have to do this thing. When someone tells me to go F myself, and I don't agree with what they're doing, but I see that they're animating themselves, I have an interest in understanding what's motivating this. In order for me to not be perceived as a risk, I have to engage in something that looks like I'm letting someone know that they're seen, heard, and understood. So I better use some kind of validation to get there. Do that a few times until this is your commitment. I'm going to start with validation. Then you can pick up your ego and then integrate your personality with the method. But you have to start somewhere. It's like tying your shoes. You know, everyone's very focused on the psychomotor skills to tie the shoe. Then after a while, you can tie your shoes while you're smoking a cigarette, eating an apple. You can do other things where you're uniquely you. But when we have to learn the individual isolated skill, focus on the thing that's going to get you to the desired outcome. What is that in this case? Let's not imprint more bad stuff on someone who's already acting out because a bunch of bad stuff has been imprinted on them. Okay, there, the end of my rant. On Thursday, I'll see you at the Jumpstart Mastery Network for one that is more tailored to the professionals in our environment. And fun thing coming up at the end of this month, we're prototyping with Ashley Bryce of Polaris Resolutions, VTACT, Vigilance, Threat Assessment, and Communication Training. This is a consolidation of Ashley Bryce's work on the models of threat assessment, risk assessment, and situational awareness for very unique circumstances, and then the use of Jumpstart's communication method to engage those situations. Protest or rally, let's say screening, suspicious behavior, suspicious backpack kinds of behaviors, looking like people are getting ready to set up an ambush. How do you, more than just observe and report, how do you engage those moments non-offensively? We're prototyping this training with a number of our customers at the end of the month, and I think it's going to be a winner. The responsiveness has already been great. So I look forward to sharing the outcomes of that with you. Take good care. We'll see you Thursday.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Or that you can lean into your own personal discomfort, say what needs to be said in a non-offensive way, the more you make the world a better place.